So Chris Paul is traded to Golden State for Jordan Poole. I'm gonna tell you why it will work. I think it will work because even last year, even JJ Redick, who now seems to believe the Chris Paul trade was a bad trade, along with Stephen A. Smith and Tim Legler, among the numerous ESPN and Fox Sports analysts that's on TV. Maybe I think I'm gonna know it all. Maybe I know more than them. Maybe I don't. But from where I see, Golden State has been running the same system for the last 7 or 8 years, that motion offense. And and KD spoke about it a couple years ago after he left Golden State to go to Brooklyn in free agency. He said that that offense is good for the regular season, but the deeper you get in the playoffs, you need somebody that can ISO score, which that's what KD does. So, back to my point. I think the Chris Paul trade will work out because it's two different type of offenses they can run. And like in baseball, they call it a changeup. When you have a pitcher who can only throw a fastball, teams prepare for a fastball because that's all they can do is a fastball, 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 fastball. But if he can throw a slider, if he can throw a curve, then it's unpredictable. You never know what he can do. So Chris Paul, if he's the number one pick and roll, well, not anymore. He's a top five pick and roll player in the league, and that's his area of expertise. He can serve a master class on that pick and roll and that pick and lob, that pick and pocket pass. It adds a wrinkle to the offense they haven't had ever, even with the role players they had before, like Iguodala, Barbosa, Sean Livingston, and the other players they've had. They all play slower. So the thing with Stephen A. and a couple other analysts seem to believe like it won't work just because CP3 runs pick and roll. Steph don't run pick and roll. They was forced to run pick and roll last year because the Lakers knew all their sets. The Kings had Mike Brown. Mike Brown was the defensive coach for the Golden State Warriors for the last 4 years. They knew all of their sets. So if you add Chris Paul, they can run completely different type of offense. Instead of running motion the entire season and then going into the playoffs, you run motion. So everybody's preparing for motion. You then roll out CP3 to give every team a different wrinkle of offense they can't prepare for. And then you give Kaminga, Moody, and the other young players and the other bench players a way to have the ball and a way to operate outside of that motion system because it's not built for everybody. And Steph is getting older. You can't keep putting those miles on his body through the whole season, through the grind of the season. Goes to prove like last year. Through the regular season, you can see him getting frustrated and tired with the motion offense. And he actually liked the ISO score a little bit more now because after that Finals MVP, which he had the ISO score a lot, it worked out better for him. Then going into last season, he started the season off ISO scoring on everybody. Then they went to the motion offense like they usually do. And they taught Jordan Poole, so that's why he runs the motion offense. But Jordan Poole just wants to run 1-4 flat. And it messes up everybody else and it causes a lot of turnovers because he has an erratic play style. And oddly enough, Gilbert Arenas is the only one that said this, that Jordan's Poole play style is so erratic it causes other players not to get a rhythm because they constantly have to stand around or run back on defense because he turns the ball over or he's just looking for his own shot. He's too busy trying to be Steph Curry 2.0 instead of just out there trying to run the offense. So he needed to change the scenery to begin with. So he can run 1-4 flat on another team and have his own team because whenever Steph's not playing, Jordan Poole, he actually likes to cook that way and it works out better for him because his numbers look better when Steph's not on the court. When Steph is on the court, then you have that tug of war of whose offense it is, and he has to follow the line because he know it has to follow the line because it's Steph's team. And the only way I don't see this working is if CP3, Steph, and Draymond start to butt heads about who's the alpha dog on the team, which I don't really see Steph butting heads with CP3. It probably just let CP3 rock for a little bit, but Draymond's gonna be the big factor in everything. Draymond Green's gonna be the X factor and why this doesn't work. And CP3, if both their egos start to clash, then I don't think it'll work. But in my opinion, I think it was a good trade. Poole needed to be traded for a fresh start and to have his own team. So his play style will be better fit on a team that's his. So now the Wizards are his team, is a rebuilding team. He can go out there and rock and get his 30-point games and his 40-point games like he been wanting to do the last 2 years since he had his breakout season the year before. And CP3 is an aging player who can't play those 60 plus seasons. Not like he had to hold out anyway. But CP3 adds a wrinkle to the offense that they haven't had, which they need now because you can't expect these older players to run up and down the court, up and down the court, up and down the court. And every every high level offense in this era of basketball runs that motion offense. So if you have a point guard who specializes at the motion offense and is the best at it, and then you have another player, another top 10 point guard who's one of the best at pick and roll offense and is able to slow the game down and cut down on their turnovers, which they had a huge problem with last year. I see it working. I don't know about everybody else.